In today's conversation, we're going to talk about what do you actually want your future to look like and how to achieve it. Let's get into it. Welcome into the Bears and Lions podcast. I am your host, Kyle Vaught, and this is the podcast where we challenge the present by viewing our past, because I firmly believe that our greatest future lies within the correct view of our past. Because when you actually look at your past, you're going to see all of the things you've overcome, right? And you're going to find out that you are stronger than you know. You're more prepared than you could ever imagine, right? So that unknown thing that's coming up, that thing that you're stressed about, I don't know if I can handle that new job. I don't know if I can go back to school. Yes, you can. You can actually do this. And I know you can because you have been resilient throughout your entire life. And it's just our job to correctly view those moments and see, oh yeah, we've done this and we are ready to go. So you're going to step into your future, and I hope that you will join me in stepping in mine as we talk about what our future is even going to look like, right? I think that's a common question is what do you want in your future? What do you want in 5 years, right? You might have a 5-year plan. Maybe you have a 1-year plan, or maybe you have a goal in the future, right? Some people will call it a dream. I think that dreams are really good, is to have a dream that you chase. I often will use that terminology, right? I have a dream that I'm chasing, and this is what I want to do. So maybe it's a job, maybe it's a occupation, or maybe it's an accomplishment, right? I want to get my doctorate's degree, or I want to get a certification of some sort, whatever it might be. Maybe it's just a accomplishment that you want for your future. And I think that those are extremely important to have, those goals, those dreams, those futures. All of them, all of the above, it's going to be based on building your future. And that's what this podcast is all about, is how are we going to utilize our present to create the best future for us, and to see that our past has really set us up for success in a lot of ways. Yes, we've gone through some really crappy things. Yes, we've gone through tough moments. Yes, we probably haven't always had things go our way either. But through that tough time, we've learned and adapted and become better. So that's what we are going to talk about. The first thing I want to talk to you about is, what do you actually want, and what do you want your future to look like, right? I think when you boil that down, you have to first kind of ask yourself a couple questions to yourself. What is the goal here? What do you want? Just a lot of things? Do you want stuff? Do you want a car? Do you want a house? Do you want, that nice spouse? I think that you can always break it down into things of that nature. But I think that there are 3 questions in particular that are really good to ask yourself is it tangible? Is it practical? And is it available? Right? Because some things may be tangible and practical, but they're not available, right? Some things just aren't available at the moment, maybe because of funds, monetary, maybe it's simply because you're not in a position yet to be able to do that. Maybe it's an accomplishment. If you're working on your master's degree, then clearly you can't have the doctor's degree or the doctorate yet. So you have to go in steps. But that doesn't mean it's not tangible or practical or obtainable. See, I think that as we're kids, as we're children, right, our dreams are so big because we don't have the wisdom and the adult reality that tells us this is actually unrealistic, right? So as children, we will say, I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a professional athlete. I want to be a professional singer. And as kids, we think, yes, we can absolutely obtain that, which as children, I think the imagination and the understanding of it is we actually know we can. As we grow older, we face that reality where our childlike wonder is completely sucked into a vacuum because we're influenced by so many other areas. As children, we can spend hours and hours and hours a day doing whatever that is we love. So maybe I remember as a kid, I spent hours playing baseball and I thought I was going to be a professional athlete. And honestly, if I spent the amount of time that I did as a kid daily, playing baseball, throwing ball, batting practice, etc., I probably would have been able to accomplish that. But as I grew older, and this happens with everybody, those dreams changed, those futures changed, the influences in our lives impact how we view that drive. So our friends influence us, the places of where we live influence us. The social media nowadays, the social media will influence us in ways that I don't think many of us could have ever anticipated. Growing up, I didn't have social media necessarily. That may show my age, but it's true. And so I didn't necessarily have that day in, day out influence of people saying, yes, you can, or no, you can't, or that's an unrealistic goal, or any failure wasn't broadcast right across 5 social media platforms. Nowadays, if anybody messes up, immediately they are put on blast, essentially, on social media. And I didn't have to experience that necessarily. For me, it was more, I didn't want to disappoint my parents. I didn't want to disappoint my brothers and sisters. And because I competed with my brothers a lot of times, I wanted them to look good, and I wanted myself to look good to their friends and to my friends. But I think that if you ask yourself, is it tangible? Is it practical? And is it available? Those are really good places to start, because then you start developing the things that you actually want. And it's not a bad thing to have some material desires and to say, yeah, I do want this car, or I do want this type of house, or for me, I do want this kitchen. I swear, one of the only things I really, really want in life is I want a really nice bedroom. I want a really nice kitchen. I could probably have like a 2-bedroom house as long as the kitchen was the size of, honestly, the house. Like the kitchen, because I love throwing parties. I love cooking. That's what I want. Material-wise, I want that kitchen. Now, how do we get those things that we desire? Maybe your desire isn't so much of a car, right? Maybe it's not so much of a house. Maybe it's something intrinsic that's more of value inside of you. It's I want to be giving. I want to be benevolent. I want to be caring. I want to be motivational. I want to be somebody who has a really good job. I want a specific job, which jobs can be pretty tangible and practical as well. A lot of times there are a lot of jobs out there. It's about developing the skills to get those jobs. And if you've ever met somebody who, has that job and they're like, man, I am in love with my job. I love going to work, right? It's like, how? Like, I want that. And what I've learned over my years of working in a couple different jobs and a couple different areas is that your job and how you relate to your job actually is impacted by where you are right now and how you act and work in the jobs that you hated. See, I've had a lot of jobs in my life, and especially over the last few years, I've moved around a lot. I've worked in a lot of jobs, and I've noticed that when it comes to your future, it has to be less about where you are in the moment and more about where you're going, right? The journey. We always talk about the journey is exciting, and you've got to love the journey, which I think is true. You got to love the journey. But if you put your identity in just the destination, if you put your identity in, once I get there, then I'm going to be happy. Or once I get this, I'm going to be happy. Then what happens is as you get to that spot, your goals can start changing. Your dreams can start changing where it's like, yay, I have it. Now what? And I've seen many people who have chased after this, including myself, where I have achieved things or I've done the things that I wanted to, and then I realized I'm empty inside because there's nothing else beyond that. Which is why it's extremely important when it comes to your future that you build it from the ground up. Wherever you are, you've got to start somewhere, so you just build it. And if you look at yourself and you say, okay, I want this job, or I want this future. I want to specifically be in this area. I want to move to this state or this city. Okay, what can you do today to actually build that future to get there? And I think it comes down to the tangible, practical, and available areas. Okay, what's available in your area right now that's also available in that city that you want to move to? So if you start working in the same business field, then you have a higher chance to either transfer or get a job in that city that you want to live in that field that you're already working. See, it's beneficial. But if you're a bad employee in a job that you hate now, then what makes you think you're going to be a good candidate to get that better job that you want? If you have destructive habits now, then why do you think those habits would just magically change if you got what you want? See, that's where there is a huge disconnect, where it's difficult, because I understand completely that there are some jobs that are just extremely hard. I've had a lot of difficult managers. I've had a lot of difficult coworkers. But at the beginning of the job, it was great. And then something changed. Sometimes it's the culture shift. Sometimes it's the schedule. Sometimes it's just the job in general. It gets stale. Like a piece of bread that was just left out on the counter, where eventually it just gets moldy and stale. And I know that that takes place, but if you don't know how to adapt and overcome during those moments and still be a good worker or a good employee, then there's nothing that's going to set you apart when you're applying for those next jobs. When they ask you, tell me about a time when you were able to adapt and do a really good job, even though the circumstances weren't very good. Those are all the interview questions that you're going to be asked is tell us about a time when you did a good job. Because why are people going to hire you? They're not going to hire you because, yeah, I did a terrible job. I actually hated my last job, and I'm so glad I'm leaving there. Thanks for interviewing me. When can I start? It's not how it works. So you have to determine who you are as a person. Am I going to be a good employee? Am I going to be a good husband? Am I going to be a good spouse? Am I going to be a good father? Am I going to be a good mother? Am I going to be a good friend? Those are the things that I think are intrinsic in what you should start to challenge yourself, because those are tangible, practical, and available in all cases. Is who are you as a person? And then let everything else work itself out around you. Because then it doesn't matter what job you are. If you as a person are a good employee, yeah, it may be a really tough job, but you can know I'm going to be a really good employee here, because then I can go to another job and be a good employee there. So if you wanted to move to another city, you could say, I've been a really good employee here, and there have been times where it's been tough, but I learned, and here's a time where I overcame something difficult. Right? When they ask, tell us about a time that you had to overcome something difficult. Tell us about a time when you had to do something that you disagreed with. I have plenty of opportunities, but this is a moment that I really disagreed with how we were doing things, but I did a really good job anyway. See, people will attach themselves to who you are and the characteristics that you are. And I think that that's extremely beneficial. Building your future must become less about what you want and more about who you want to become. Because kindness is a habit that never goes bad. Kindness is not the stale bread. Kindness is the ability to say, yeah, times have been tough, but I'm still going to do it. So what do you want in your future, and what you want your future to look like? It really boils down to, who do you want to be? What person do you want to look like? Do you want to be somebody who is cold and just works and doesn't care about anything else, or somebody who is just wrapped up in what they have? Look at my car. Have you seen my new car? Have you seen my new house, or the accomplishments that you've had? I understand that's sometimes a beautiful thing to be able to say, yeah, look at all the things that I've accomplished. But are you connecting with people? Because if you've put your identity in just all of the things that you have, or all the things that you have obtained throughout your life, then when you connect with people, you turn into like this car dealer salesman. Yeah, look what I have to offer. You want to hang out? Like, you could drive my car, or we could go for a ride, or you want to come over and watch football on my big screen TV or my jet ski. You want to go out on the boat. I've met so many people who it's like they don't quite connect with me because they think that I only would want to be around them because of the things they have. And that's not true. And they sell me on it where they're like, hey, do you want to do this? I'm like, no. I would rather just go get coffee and talk about life. Like, what's going on with you? Well, I just got a new car and I'm super excited to drive it around. See, there will always be a point where you have to determine who you are as a person and allow your future to just happen as you work towards it by being that best person today. Knowing that it is building, right? You're a construction worker that's building this future brick by brick. And each day you place a new brick of trust. Each day you place a new brick of hope, a new brick of consistency, a new brick of discipline, building a strong foundation, knowing that that future is going to be able to stand because you've made good choices when nobody else was watching. We talked about that a few episodes ago and a few conversations ago. But it's truly about who you are and who you want to be. So I asked you at the beginning, this conversation was going to be about what you want your future to look like. Ask yourself, what do I want in my future and who do I want to become? Because as you determine who you want to become, start asking, is it tangible? Is it practical? And is it available? I cannot wait to see all of the things that you guys do in your future. I know that as we step into our future together, we're going to have more and more conversations. I'm actually really excited about one coming up because I've been doing some studies, and there's some really interesting studies on the workforce. We talked about that last episode. There's a few that I'm kind of nervous about talking about because I feel like as soon as I open my mouth, everybody is going to have an opinion about it. But that is to come later. That's going to do it for this conversation. As always, I really hope that you will enjoy the rest of your week. I say it. Remember to give grace, show love, and stay stellar. I'm going to do something that I haven't ever done here. But if you want to follow me on social media, it's at Kyle Vatt. That's V as in Victor, A-T-T is my last name. So just KYLEVATT on X, and on Instagram, it's Kyle_Vatt, V as in Victor, ATT. I would love to interact with you. I post daily. You can find me on YouTube at Kyle Vatt as well. That's going to do it for us. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week, and I will see you all on Monday.